But for example, if you play 6-4 as an opening roll and you make the 2 point, a lot of people will get the responses right because they don't see it that often. So I don't believe that making the 2 point is technically the best play with an opening 6-4. But if I'm playing someone who I think doesn't really understand what's, is that good, I'll quite often make the 2 point just to see what they do with the response. Right? So it's not all about theory and equity. You are playing a human being on the other side, and always remember that. So in essence, the correct play is your choice. I don't mind which way you do. And the opening roll is the only time you get a choice, so enjoy it. Okay? Right, so the first response. All right, White has opened with 5-2. 4-1 in reply. So answers from the floor, please. This is not a solely individual seminar. I'm expecting significant contributions all the way through.
Slots.
So how many slots? And how many splits? Right, okay. Now you don't get a choice, right? It is crystal clear that the slot is correct in response, right? For a number of reasons. In essence, most of the 4s that White can roll play well on his side of the board, so that slotting actually gives you an advantage because it gives him a problem when he rolls some of the 4s. He'll hit with nearly all of the 4s, but 4-2 would have made his 4 point, 4-1 would have made his bar point. Yeah. So not only are you duplicating his good numbers, but you're also unstacking a heavy point. And another very small minor point. When the game starts, your opponent has 8 men near to his home board. After his opening 5-2, he's got 10 of them, right? So even this early into the game, the possibility of a blitz attack by White has reared its head. Now, you might not think it's overly significant, but one of the things I have learned is as soon as you've got 10 or 11 men coming into the home board, it does become much more dangerous to split, even if he has not already made a home board point. So for all of those reasons, the slot is fairly clear, right? And most of the time when your opponent is bringing builders down, and again, we haven't got time to go through all the opening rolls and responses, then it's nearly always going to be correct slot. So, lesson 1, if you like, from this morning's session. Correct play, 13-9, 65. Slightly later on. All right, so Black's gone nowhere. White has made a couple of points, or has made his 11 point, and he's reinforced his 8 point. Now we've got 4-1 to play. So I'll give you some choices. Bar 24, 13-9. Bar 21, 24-23. Split, so coming in and splitting the back checkers, or coming in on the 4 point and slotting your 5 point. Right, so any votes for coming in on the 24 point and bringing a man down? Bottom of class. Right, so the correct 4 is to come in on the 21 point, which is the correct 1. Anyone splitting? Right, okay. So this is even worse than the preceding example, splitting. All right. So this is now very clear to slot. Yeah.
That's exactly what McGreal said do.
Yeah, but again, now to go back to McGreal, some of what he said has to be taken with a pinch of salt based on analysis.
But you're not split, right? You still
Yeah.
have the ace point anchor.
You've still got the ace point. Yeah, well, if you split 24-23, you don't have the ace point anchor, and that's the key point. Again, there are now 11 men about to come into bear, right? So what happens if you come in the 4 point and slot? It gives your opponent a load of double hits, it gives him a lot of good doubles, and if you fan once, the game will be over. So it's quite important to actually keep an anchor in a lot of these situations. And again, you're just bringing another man into play very successfully. Everybody happy? Right, everyone will obviously do. Mr. Kershaw's not happy and he's not going to do this, okay? And unfortunately, you could now spend another 2 or 3 hours looking at all the opening rolls and all the opening responses, and we could talk about how you play 6-2, 6-3, and what you do in response and all that. But we haven't got time because this is only an hour, so I'll leave you to do the rest of it. Is that okay?
Does the duplication of fours have anything there?
Yes, again, the duplication of fours comes into play, again, quite strongly. Alan?
We did cover that yesterday.
Right, excellent. So that was done yesterday. Adam did that. So not only have you got this, you've got the answers from yesterday as well.
I've already forgotten those. So.
Yes.
I was disappointed on the previous example. We looked at that one. Half the people obviously
But sadly, because I do a lot of this in my day job in terms of presenting, it is true that 50% of what you hear this morning, by this time next week, you'll have forgotten, unless you actually do some reading around the topic as well. Okay? Or unless, and I don't think there's anyone that qualifies, you're under 18. So opening summary, an opening roll slot is optional except in certain match play situations, and again we won't go through that complexity today. The response to the opening roll is not optional, and you should learn them. And when behind in the race early on, slotting becomes more attractive. Again, in that previous example, you've already got 3 men back, having another one back, not too much of an issue. Back game options, etc. The middle game. Back in the 1970s. Now, who's got a copy of Paradoxes and Probabilities? Right, there are 168 problems in that book. Does anybody know how many of them are gross blunders? 44. Right, so that book is valueless unless you happen to have a copy of Classic Backgammon Revisited by Jeremy Guy, who's gone through all of those problems and reanalyzed them. Now again, you shouldn't criticise Cook because in essence he was playing as anybody played in the 1970s. Right? And people didn't know any better, and it was an era of bravado in many ways. We won't talk about sexual revolutions because it's before lunch on a Sunday. But, I mean, it was a wild and wacky time, and backgammon was also wild and wacky. So, as Begay says, one of the fun things about reading Cook's book is you have to find the Cook answer before you actually find the right answer.